podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
The Roll for Initiative podcast, volume number 2, issue number 87. I am DM Vince, sitting alongside DM Nick.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
DM Will.
What's up?
And special guest from his own podcast, DM Crispy.
What's up, everybody?
So, Crispy, tell us about your podcast venture now that's going to be joining the Wild Games Production Network.
A couple weeks ago, after the last SAW that we recorded, I got a Twitter message from someone saying that, like, I guess I got interrupted or something like that, and someone's like, Crispy, you should start your own show. And I'm like, you know what, that's a good idea. And then I talked to a couple friends, and within like 2 days, we had an episode and a website already edited and put together and up. And that's the Critical Wits podcast. It's basically, it's general D&D. It's every edition. We've got 3 hosts with pretty differing viewpoints. We've got the rules guy. We've got our high magic, high level play guy, and then we've got our old school guy, which is me. And we take one topic of D&D and we talk about that topic till we feel there's nothing else to talk about. So there's no segments. There's no really, I don't want to say getting off track, but we, of course, do that because it's a podcast. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
And, it's criticalwits.info.
So that's cool. Sounds like a round table kind of setup. You have a topic and you all kind of throw in your 2 copper pieces.
Mm-hmm. And there will be arguments. I guarantee it.
Is it
on-air arguments.
Is it family rated okay, or?
We have a disclaimer. There's some foul language. I try to keep it to a minimum.
But at the beginning, you will throw a little disclaimer in there, I hope.
Yeah, there is. It's at the beginning of every episode.
And it's you and your buddy Tim and somebody else,
and our
right?
friend Daniel, yeah. And it's funny, like, anytime I tell a bad player story or I'm like, I have a one player who does this.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. That's actually Daniel. Like, I love him to death. He's a great friend, but we bump heads on a lot of D&D stuff, and I think that's something that we probably need for a podcast.
Keeps it interesting.
So you only say there's a lot of foul language. You can't say words like chicken or eagle or bird.
Yeah, like
okay.
Daniel said pheasant once, and I had to stop the show. I was like,
no foul language. Don't go bok, 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 cluck, cluck, cluck.
I have to bleep, 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 all that stuff. That's awesome.
And I guess I could have went through when I edited and put like a bleep sound effect over it, but I don't have that kind of time.
No, you don't have to do that.
But we are going to try and work on it. And one thing that we are going to cover are some we're going to cover some mature themes in gaming. So that's another thing that I kind of want to warn people about is our proto episode was actually about playing female characters, but it also kind of became a discussion about like sexism and misogyny in gamer culture.
Oh my gosh.
And we're also going to do a dedicated episode on that, yeah. Because I'm a bit of a feminist, and Tim is really feminist, and Daniel he's part of the LGBTA community, so we all feel pretty strongly about it. But before we do that actual show, we want to get some girls to come on and talk about it, because 3 white dudes aren't really equipped to talk about misogyny.
You just said you was a feminine guy, so hey, what can I say?
Feminist.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Feminine guy. That wasn't very nice.
I just did a face palm right there.
Yeah. So, Chris,
there we go.
What was your first episode about?
Our first episode is about fighters and should they get superpowers as they gain in level, and how that can work for certain games and how it doesn't work for certain games.
And how long do the podcast? Do you try to make them like an hour and a half?
We're doing for like an hour and a half around that time.
That's cool.
Say it, Nick.
That's cool.
Yeah. Say it, Nick. I'm waiting for you to say it, Nick.
Heck no.
You already knew what I was talking about.
Well, Nick, you can write in to criticalwits@gmail.com and share your ideas.
Actually, that's a pretty cool topic. I can see how you can maybe something work like that for first edition, though. Actually, I think there's kind of something in there.
My consensus was basically like anything that John McClane can do, and have you still be entertained and not like be like, oh, John McClane, that's impossible.
Right.
That's my level of fighter.
Sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a weekly podcast, bi-weekly, whenever you feel like it?
It's going to be bi-weekly, yeah.
Oh, so it's like how the SOD format is every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I did that just because SOD is bi-weekly, and I don't want to do 2 podcasts every week or have a week off of podcasting. I don't know how I'm going to play it yet.
Right. All right, so you can go to criticalwits.info and you can listen to, you have 5 episodes up now, right?
One episode.
Oh, I thought you said it was 5. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
They're getting a little ahead of him right now. Now he's going to be under the gun. It's like, now I got to crank out 4 more episodes. Thanks.
Like, where are these podcasts? Why don't you have podcasts up?
That's cool. All right, well, you're welcome to the network, and you actually have forums up on our site now. I have put them up.
Oh, okay, cool.
So people can go there and go, what the heck is this? And they can post and ask. Crispy wants you guys to ask him questions so they can do a mailbag show, so he encourages that. It's a lot of fun doing mailbag shows, as we did on SOD.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. We have 1 email so far, and it's from Mike W.
You'll see after probably about, I would say, 15, 20 episodes, definitely could do a mailbag show. Cool. Just pick, some really cool topics out of the mailbag there and just go at it.
Okay, cool. So, Critical Wits, part of the Wild Games Production Network, osrgaming.org. You can find his forums, or you can go to his site, criticalwits.info, and listen in, and hopefully you'll do very well, Crispy. I'm sure you will.
I hope so, too.
Everyone always says you have the talent, so.
Aw.
Well, you at least have the Trask talent.
I do have the Trask.
Will Trask be appearing on the podcast?
Maybe, I don't know.
This should be an all Trask podcast.
Where he just talks about ale and what's good.
And what monsters he killed with his hammer.
It's an axe, man.
That's right, it's an axe. I'm sorry. Anyway. So, conventions. I know, Will, you just came back from a convention because you weren't feeling well. But how'd it go on the first day you went there?
Well, I mean, I went down Friday, and it was actually pretty good and everything. I mean, there was a lot of gamers there, and I don't know what happened, but somewhere along the way, I must have shook the wrong hand or spoke to the wrong person or was in the vicinity of a flu cloud or something, but I got sick really bad on Friday evening, and so I went home.
Plague, man.
Say again?
It's the con plague. Every con, somebody comes and brings their, bubonic plague.
It destroyed me on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm doing a lot better now than I was, but I just terrible headaches and had the flu, so it just it was disgusting. So it was sad because I didn't get to run my event on Saturday, and then I missed out on my event on Friday, and then of course I missed the banquet on Saturday night. So that was really lame. So, but that's okay. It's all good. I mean, I got there, I got my swag, and I met everybody. There's some good product coming out. I tell you, I have to give it to Paizo. They're just they're top-notch people, very professional, very friendly, and met a lot of the editors because I'm always on editors because editors sometimes stink.
Yeah.
And no, I was trying to learn out, how is their process on editing. So it's pretty cool. They have an editor that checks for misspelled words, and you have an editor that checks for rules or conflicts. Then you have an editor that does that. So it was pretty cool. I had a good time talking to those guys and everything. But it's good to go. Met some good people there, met some old friends, and then, of course, then got stuck home.
That's too bad because it sounds like you literally failed your con check.
Yeah.
Oh, I failed something. I'll tell you right now.
Crispy guy. He failed his con check, and then he failed his con check.
We all know what that means.
Matt, insert really bad drum roll there or something. I don't know.
Or that gong show bell or whatever it was.
Yeah, really.
No, it's all good. No, it's just, next time I go to a con, I just won't shake as many hands and I won't get around so many people and everything. Rest assured, it was someone that probably got off the plane and got sick and is walking around spreading it. Whatever. It is what it is.
So next con, everybody, make sure you go to Will and sneeze right in his face. No, I'm kidding.
Flipping gamers.
Right.
Nah, it's okay. I met a lot of good people. I mean, there's people from England over here. It's amazing. All over the country come over here to this.
Is this your first PaizoCon, or have you been to the ones in the past?
This is my second one.
Second one? Have you ever met a guy named Clinton J. Boomer?
Oh,
he's one of the developers. He's a freelance guy.
Oh, no, I didn't talk to any of the freelance people there. I spoke to mostly everyone that worked at Paizo himself. So,
okay.
He doesn't talk to freelancers. That's beneath him. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, well, he developed the Moangai Expanse for the campaign setting. He was one of the RPG Superstar guys.
Oh, yes. Like I said, there were so many people there, and this is surprising with this particular convention and everything. There is just a whole slew of guest stars. And when you have, the entire staff there from the executive of the company all the way on down, the entire staff there, I mean, it's more than what they had at that Texas RPG Con. So this was, you just don't get to meet everybody.
Yeah.
So it was rough, not getting to meet everybody, and I probably missed a lot of people on Saturday and Sunday. So, but then it is what it is. Like I said, now next year it'll be a little different and everything. That means I have to run 2 adventures next year to make it for the one I missed this year.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course, yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do? Anyway, let's see. Conventions are coming up. I know, Crispy, you said you're going to PAX too, right?
Going to PAX.
PAX coming up. PAX West, is it?
Just emailed. I'm getting a ticket from a friend who can't go. I was going to Seattle anyways, just to go during that weekend, but I just emailed him my contact info, so I'll officially have a ticket.
I was actually kind of looking forward to going to NeonCon this year now that I'm so close to it, and then they shut it down.
Yep. Oh. That makes me sad.
After 5 years.
Why did they shut it down?
It just was not, it wasn't viable as a financial,
lack of participation.
Yeah.
That's what it was. There wasn't enough venue or money generating for it. I guess the guy was too much in the red, as they call it, or black, whatever it is.
Yeah, red. Which is, it sucks, because Doug Dalton is the guy who ran NeonCon. He runs the Vegas Game Day here, too. He's a really nice guy, really good guy. And he put a lot of time and effort and, love into the convention.
Yeah, conventions you don't really make money. I know North Texas RPG Con, they're always in the red, even though they put on such a big event. So,
yeah, I can't see how starting a con and running one. I would just think you'd be lucky if you just break even. I mean, that's how I kind of look at it,
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, we got Gen Con coming up in August. I know I'm not going. I don't know about you, Nick.
No, I don't think I'll be going to Gen Con this year either. But the con I think I might be going to will be a local one in October, and it's Con on the Cob.
Corn on the Cob?
No, Con on the Cob.
I'm sorry, but that's got to be one of the lamest names I've ever heard for a con.
I know, it is.
It's a cool con, though.
Okay,
it's in Ohio,
cool
right?
on the con.
Yeah, it's in Hudson, Ohio. And
a lot of corn in Ohio, guys. I'm just saying. Yes,
there is.
Thank you.
So I think this is like its 3rd or 4th year right now, and it's going pretty strong. So it's going to be my first year. I think I'm going to go. It's after my friend Jeff gets back from Afghanistan in September. I'm going to try to really twist his arm. Hey, let's all go. And I'm sure he'll be itching to go to a con and get some gaming in and probably partake of some libations and get stupid. So that'll be cool. I think that'll be fun.
Sounds like fun, yeah. I know Matt will be attending our Gen Con to represent RFI, and of course, former host Jason will be there again as well. Mm-hmm. He plans to be there with some special people. I can't really say any more than that, but look for him and you'll be very shocked. That's all I'll say. Anyway.
Have like a green mohawk or something.
He actually had a green mohawk once in his life if you look at some of his pictures.
Huh.
So I can't say that's a surprise.
Hey, Crispy, now how long are you going to be here?
I'm going to be, let's see, I leave from Vegas on Wednesday, and then we're driving up from San Diego. So I'll probably get there Thursday. I'll be there till, I think, like Monday morning.
Where you all staying at?
I don't know. It's in Seattle. We're staying in Seattle. It's like a 13-minute walk away from the convention. I'm not exactly sure which hotel it is. My friend Justin is taking care of all that. I'll just have to get I'll have to get that info from him.
All right, just give me a heads up when you all come up here and everything. If you all need a place, I got my place here in Tacoma, and Seattle's only 35 minutes away because we got Dragonflight also in August. But if you're not going to be here for that, that's no big deal then.
Nah, I'm just this is my last hurrah before school. So
Okay.
I'm I'll never get to do this again, pretty much. So
Ever.
I'm doing it while I can.
Again.
Again.
A little Chris Jericho for you there. Anyway. Yeah, and isn't Comic-Con coming up too in August?
July, actually.
July,
I
that's
believe
right,
It's the last weekend in July.
Yeah, San Diego Comic-Con. The Comic-Con of all Comic-Cons.
The big one.
Mm-hmm. Bigger
I
than
wanted
New
to go to
York?
that for a few years, but just don't know long on that. But tickets sell out like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like wicked fast.
Like
Oh, by the way,
sell out
for-
like PAX tickets.
For folks who might want to go to Con on the Cobb, just go to cononthecobb.com. And it's October 11th to 14th in Hudson, Ohio this year.
Make sure you bring your corn.
Don't need it. We got plenty here.
Cool. Another little thing we found on the internet we thought people might be interested in looking at, and we had some people, we had some of our staff look at it, called 4 Tanks and a Healer. It's a little home-drawn cartoon, video cartoon about these 4 tanks and 1 healer, and it's like based off, if you ever played an online game ever in your life, you understand all the jokes on it. It's live action, voiceovers. It's actually really done really well for an independent contract. So, what'd you guys think? I mean, Will, what'd you think of it overall?
Well, I mean, I looked at it, and the first thing that came to mind was World of Warcraft and and EverQuest, and I'm thinking like, yeah, the same old stuff again, because you got the newbie group, the noobs, dealing with the elitist jerks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because, the cartoon bleeped out all the curse words and the swear words, which is pretty funny and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's family friendly, and if you ever played any online game, you'll get every one of the jokes, and you'll laugh hysterical as these 4 little noobish people gather up to form a group, and then they get a healer who's like a hot chick elf, but turns out to be a guy playing it.
Yeah.
I knew when I saw the hot chick elf in the credits, I knew like the joke was going to be it's a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like Redbeard, though, because... Okay, spoiler alert, everybody. When they're standing at the gates to go outside of the town,
Yeah.
and she says, "This is what I signed the divorce papers for."
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, he said, "This is what I signed a divorce." Yeah. I didn't realize that was a chick at first. I thought that was a guy with a high voice at first, and I didn't know.
Yeah, the thing that killed me was how it started out where they had to kill all the rats.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how it is on World of Warcraft. You start an area, you have to kill all these stupid little creatures like either bats, I don't know, whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Monsters. You have to do them stupid little quests until you get the 5th level. Then you can move on to the next area. I said, oh man, this is a nightmare relived.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you played Diablo online, you'll still get the jokes. So
Yeah, if you
Oh,
play
yeah, of
any
course.
online gaming, even like first-person shooters, because like everybody's a noob, no matter how long you've been playing. Some jerk's gonna type in noob.
Yeah.
Like what?
So basically, it just follows these 4 tanks and 1 healer around as they go on questing outside the gates, and they have a rival group of the elitists that are just like talking down to them. They wind up outsmarting them eventually, and it's a great little story. And it's just there's 2 episodes up, and they want to do a Kickstart to get some more episodes up. So hopefully everyone will go out there, go on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the show notes. It's called 4 Tanks and a Healer. Very, very funny. And hope you all watch it. And I think that's it. We'll head into some sage advice.
Sage advice.
Sage advice. I could sing this week. That's right. There's no more Jason to yell us the sage advice.
Yeah.
We got, actually, we have 2 voicemails this week.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, and you can call in by calling the hotline at 570-865-4210. The RFI hotline, where Nick is standing by with corn. So
what?
Nothing. Let's play the first voicemail.
That just sounds weird.
Yes, I know. Let's just play the first voicemail. Here we go.
Hey, guys. PM Kojo. Got a quick question for you about how you handle saving throws. Specifically, those types of saving throws where maybe you don't want the players to know the character failed the roll. What I'm thinking of specifically is, say, giant rats have some kind of disease that, there's a percent chance that each rat has the disease. And if you get bit, you make a saving throw. And if you fail, you catch this disease that makes you sick, and over time could lead to death if you don't get the disease cured. So if the player just rolls the saving throw and knows they failed, they're like, oh, crap, I got to get a cured disease spell right away. Whereas if they don't even know that there was a chance of the disease, if I roll it in secret, then it seems a little bit more realistic than if you were bit in real life and say, oh, well, I think I just got a disease. So just wondering on your thoughts on that. Should all saving throws be hidden, done by the DM? Should the players roll them all and just, because it's a game, it's not real life? Just curious how you'd handle that. So love to hear your thoughts. All right, guys, keep up the good work. Thanks. Bye.
All right. So let's go around the table. How would you guys handle it? We'll start with Crispy.
Normally, like, if they're fighting ghouls or something like that, I just have them make the saving throw every round. But I am a fan of doing saving throws in secret. I think I don't know, I like being in control of that. Like, normally I'm not a fudging guy, but, you do have to fudge every once in a while. Another thing you could do is wait till a little bit after the battle, and then just have them make a saving throw without telling them what it's for. Just to see if they caught it. I don't know. It's interesting. I would do it. I would just ask them what their save versus disease. Is it disease? I can't even remember.
Save versus disease is fine.
I would ask them what their saving throw is, and then just make that behind a screen and see if they pass or fail.
I generally would just do it when we play. I would just have them roll an extra d20 randomly and just not tell them what it is. Much more fun that way.
Yeah, after everything's said and done. So
do it that way, or you could do it during battle. Just be like, can you roll me 20?
Why?
Just roll me a 20. It'll be cool.
No, it's cool.
But
just
why?
Trust me, bro.
No. Hey. Okay.
Does that mean I get an extra attack?
Yes.
No.
I rolled a 7. Is that good?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Excellent.
You miss.
Oh.
As an evil lead.
I'm sorry.
What about you, William? You're the by-the-book person kind of guy here, so...
Well, I mean... I don't believe in realism in a fantasy role-playing game and everything. So, I mean, if they're fighting rats, I mean, that would be general knowledge that rats, in most cases, would carry some type of disease. Not all the time, but some.
That's a thing we know in, like, the real world, too.
Right. And so, I mean, it's a common sense thing. Now, in the event that, they start running into other monsters that they're not familiar with, like the Toyugs and that kind of stuff, or other creatures that, just might have this poison attack that they're not aware of, or they got poison on their claws. And this, for example, like skeletons. I mean, there's no one saying that a magic user that creates a skeleton, he can have the claws filled with some type of poison powder or, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And they wouldn't be aware of that. And you just tell them. I like the idea of just tell them, I need you to roll a d20. Now, a good DM will, of course, will have all the specifics of a character and so on back behind the screen. So he rolled a 16, his saving throw on versus poison is +5 because he has an 18 constitution and a dwarf gets a +5. So 17 plus 5 is a 22. He makes a save. So no, nothing happens. Now if someone gets sick later on, it's a whole different story. It all depends on the disease or whatever the case might be and everything, Is it something that's instantaneous or, like I said, it's a disease. I don't think it incubates, that quick.
Right. Yeah. It could be hours later on. Yeah, true.
Yeah, when you're talking diseases, I think there's a certain constitution check that could be done later on.
And that's the whole point. 12 hours, 24 hours.
Yeah, right.
Then tell them, I need you to make a saving throw versus poison. Then take it or versus disease or whatever. And say what I do? It's not what you did. It's something you did 24 hours ago. So yeah, no, that's cool. Then either you roll it or they roll it and don't tell them what it's for.
Right. It's
but like I said, the players should expect, to run into animals of any kind, and if you run into a wild pack of wolves or a wild pack of dogs or cats or anything, the last thing anyone thinks about is rabies.
Right. Well, yeah, well. True.
And it looks like the chance to get poison or to get diseased, I guess, by a rat is only 5% per wound inflicted. So you really could do that later on. Just kind of tally up how many times that person was hit and then give them cumulative, say they get 5 hits, 25% chance that they're going to catch this disease.
Yeah, true. Okay, cool. And we have our second voicemail.
I didn't give my opinion.
Oh, I thought you already said it. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I apologize.
Go over and just noob.
Oh. I thought you agreed with one. I thought you agreed with one of us, and that was your opinion.
I kind of agree with everybody else. Okay, we can move on. No. What I like to do is before a game is
noob.
Oh, great! Now there's the running gag for the show.
Yes.
Double gay.
No.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles roll double gay. That's right.
Okay, but what I like to do is I'll in my group what I'll do is I'll get their character name, class, level, and race. I have them all write it down on a sheet of paper. I'll have that with me. And if I need to make a secret saving throw, I could just look like on the paper. I'll say, okay, such and such is a 5th level fighter and they're human. Okay. If they need to make a saving throw. And I don't do it all the time. This is just for the secret saving throws. Like maybe some weird effect happened and they don't, like some weird shimmering light came down from the ceiling and covered everybody in gold dust, and they need to make a saving throw.
Are they all Flash Gordon now all of a sudden, or
no?
Oh, sorry.
But I mean, just give it an idea, and I just roll a secret save for everybody, and not everybody know, but everybody else the standard stuff like you're saying, like the rats, maybe save versus poison when you get hit by a poison arrow from a trap or something like that. But I like to keep those certain things behind my screen in case you do have those secretive saving throws you want to make, and kind of keep them on their toes, because it's always fun when you're rolling behind the screen and you're like, hey, what's going on? Nothing, everything's good.
Okay. Cool.
One thing that I do is I just roll all the time. I play with my dice, so they never know when I'm rolling for things.
That's always fun.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of DMs that just constantly playing with dice and just rolling constantly, and you don't know if it's ever a real roll or not. I've seen a lot of DMs do that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's what are you doing back there? Oh, nothing. Just playing.
Okay. So we actually have one voicemail left, and we'll play that one for you guys. Here you go.
Hey guys, NPC Keith here. A couple things. I think you missed an opportunity when you were talking about splitting the party and crystal balls in the same issue. What's the rest of the party going to think when the thief sneaks off every few rounds and the big bad guy knows what the party's doing? It could be a lot of trust issues going on there. It'd be really fun to roleplay that out. I have a question though. If you're cruel enough to make the players roll 3d6 and write their stats in order. Does must trump can't as far as what character class you play? For example, if you have less than 5 intelligence, I think it says you have to be a fighter. But what if you don't have the minimum strength requirement, which I think is 9? Are you just a really bad fighter, or you have to re-roll? How do you guys handle that? Love the show. Keep it going. And thanks.
Okay. What do you think?
Good question all around. Wow. 3d6 down the line.
It's crazy. It's weird.
It's out of control.
I mean, like, so you have a character who's not so great at fighting. Like, that's not, it sucks. It does. But, I mean, death is all around you. So guess what? You get to roll a new character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, there's all those different methods. I mean, if you want to do, like, straight 3d6 down the line, I mean, well.
And I don't know, like, have you guys ever met a DM who's so draconian that he would make you keep your 4-strength fighter?
No.
I've never met any person.
No.
My thing on this is, if someone did the 3d6 method and they wanted to go this route straight down the line, and they didn't have the minimum scores to be that fighter, they get a 4 in strength. Well, guess what? You have a 9 now.
Yeah, I would say that would be a good idea too. You at least have the minimum.
Yeah.
At least give them minimum for that character class so they can play that character class. Now, unfortunately, they can't go like, well, I want to be a paladin or whatever, because now you got some issues there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just not going to work out. I don't really care too much for the 3d6 method and everything, because, someone's going to get something and then they say like, wow, I'm just mediocre. That's not the purpose of D&D. D&D is all about above average characters. They're not normal. They're not below normal. I never, like that concept of, let's play characters with the minimum stats and everything. That's not what D&D is about. These are characters that I'm not saying they're superpower, but they're above average. This is why they're going out adventuring. They're not your typical civilian. Or
See, Will, I think you would like my show, because we talk about this in our first episode.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just being realistic about it. This is why characters adventure. They want to go out and do something special. Your average, typical village person does not want to do that. They just want to go out and farm corn for corn in the cob or corn in the cob. I mean,
har. Just for that, I'm going to disagree with you.
Go ahead.
Okay.
But no, I'm just being realistic about it. I mean, yeah, if they want to do the 3d6 down the line and they don't get the required stats for that particular character class, then they get the minimum score for that character class.
Sure. Well, you know what? I mean, I don't mind just minimum for the character class, but you know what? There's actually, in my opinion, there has to be a certain amount of danger. I'm sorry. And if you roll 3d6 down the line, and if you get a 5 for your intelligence, well. If you get like 5
intelligence is a big farmer.
Well, you know what? I think they have to start somewhere. And if you're going to be a certain class or something like that, I don't know. I don't think it's such a detriment if certain ability scores are below subpar. I think that what kind of makes part of what your character is. We all know from like literature and from movies, the most interesting characters are the ones that are overcoming some sort of personal character flaw within themselves.
I love you, Jenny.
There you go. Forrest Gump. That was on last night. I mean, look at him. He met the President of the United States a few times. So
I'll have to pay.
Oh, come on now. That is one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't stand Forrest Gump.
What?
15
American classic.
So lame.
Next he's going to say he hates the Goonies, and then that's how you know that Will is secretly a communist.
All right.
I know where you're coming from, but my point is this, though. Per the rules, if they don't have a certain stat, they can't do certain things, and that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah, that's what his question is about. Like, if they have, like, a 5 intelligence, now they only can be a fighter, but, like, they rolled a 6 strength.
Yeah.
Okay, then boost it up to 9. That's fine, but they're still gonna have
what if he wanted to be a wizard instead? Like,
tough.
I guess it could go either way. Like, you could just boost.
Well, yeah, if you could go either way.
You're a wizard.
If you want to be a wizard, okay, we'll boost your intelligence to the minimum to be a magic user. Okay, it's 9.
That was the point.
Within the confines of the rules, yes, there is that particular mechanic where there are minimum requirements for character classes. Yes, you do have to keep that in mind. But I mean, if your rest of your rolls are average, then you know what? You're an average guy. I mean, the average rolls on a 3d6 straight down are 9 through 12 on a 3d6. If you look at it on a bell curve, and that's right out of the DMG. I don't remember exactly what page, but I know it's near the beginning, and and it showed right there, and you know, and that's okay, because within the game itself, there are going to be opportunities where your ability scores, whichever ones they may be, are going to be boosted by magical items. You know, gauntlets of ogre power, gauntlets of dexterity, girdle of giant strength, helm of brilliance, I think, is also boosts intelligence. What was it? Ioun stones. There you go. There's many opportunities for that average character who's trying to fight through all these trials and tribulations and make himself, a cut above the rest. You know, he gets those magic items in his future, and it's a kind of a reward. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from now, Will. That there are those minimum requirements for those, at least the core 4 character classes. So, yeah, I guess, keeping that in mind. But as far as the rest of the ability scores, you know what? They're lackluster. Work through it. If your character dies, okay, roll up another.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing, though, and like I said, if someone wants to play a paladin, and they can have all the minimum scores that is, for that character, which is no problem.
Well, that's where I kind of disagree.
Why?
I disagree because I think it depends on the DM. If a person is going to approach me in a game and say, okay, I really want to play a paladin, I'm like, well, let's see what you're going to roll first. So I'm not going to just give them the way to be a paladin. I mean, I would be more of where the dice fall as they may on that.
Yeah, but if they want to be a mage and they get a 3 intelligence, what's the difference?
Well,
a paladin, a mage, a cleric.
Well, because overall, look at how many ability scores you need to be a paladin. You need a minimums in charisma, in strength. I think.
That's okay, though, but that is a player class. Unless you have a campaign that limits paladins, that's what I'm saying. That's where consistency comes into the game. Either you're consistent or you're not. What applies to one character class, you apply to all of them. There's nothing rare in that game. Well, besides the bard, and that would be a difficult character to eventually, if someone wanted to play a bard, they would have the difficulty then. Because you can't give them the minimum stats.
No, you can't.
That's the only one where I see there would be an issue is the bard, because,
monk?
I mean, I'm just saying, it's just a thought.
Why then just roll for them? Why don't you just give them minimums for everything and just not even roll for scores then? What's the point?
No. Everyone needs to roll. The rolling is part of the character generation process.
Okay, but, you can't have – we got it – well, either they're getting minimums for their ability scores. It's like, let's go with your paladin
Exactly.
example. I mean,
if someone wants to play a paladin and he rolls poorly, then he gets the minimum stats for paladin class.
So you're saying
roll on.
You're basically saying that he wants to be a paladin. Let's just to get the game going and make everybody happy. If he doesn't make it, just give him minimum what he needs to play.
The minimum. That's it.
So if he needs a 15, you just say, okay, fine, it's a 15. Let's just move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see a problem with that as long as the group agrees with it.
I guess if the group agrees, I suppose so.
I don't think the group has anything to matter. I think it's the DM that makes that decision. I don't care what the players think because.
A group as a whole. That including the DM.
Right now, you could say, well, you didn't have the the stats to be a paladin. You had to be a plain old fighter. Well, tough luck, bud.
That's how I would kind of go at it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You get into a real murky area here. I
have no problem with giving players what they want. I mean, I'd rather just have players be happy.
I'd rather have them earn it.
It's just a game. It's just a game, and if I'm going to have a guy who, I want to be a monk, and he doesn't make monk, and he rolls again, he doesn't make monk, he wants to be a monk, it's just dude, just make up a monk. Give yourself the minimum stuff. I'd rather him play a monk than sit there miserable with a fighter.
That's the whole point I'm saying. Yeah, why give them something they don't want to play? You want to have the staple classes. You get a cleric and he's got the bare minimum. Well, that means he can only cast second, third level spells because of his wisdom. Well, that's going to limit you. And you talk about all these great things, a belt of giant strength and all that stuff. Well, if they can overcome those threats. Yeah, like I said, I think that player characters are above average, and I'm going to let them roll their 4d6 and drop one.
Okay, sounds good.
No.
Well, let's agree to disagree here. We all have our own opinions, our own style of way. Every DM has their own style of way. It's basically up to the DM who's playing the game that day.
Well, I'm gonna play a paladin in Nick's group every doggone time.
Okay, fine. We'll just let you play.
Go for it. Go for it. You better get your best 3d6 out there.
Oh, it's too funny.
Anyway, let's head over to game mechanics. I'm sorry, table manners. I might apologize.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I'd like to find one with table manners.
What are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
Okay, we have table manners now. I just want to let you know that Crispy had to drop out of the conversation. He had something come up, and he apologized to everyone out there, but he'll be back again, so don't worry. So go ahead, Will.
Okay, on today's Table Manners, we're going to talk about desert campaigns and how one should be developed, or what are the rules that a DM really like to look into and utilize in developing a desert campaign.
Right.
Okay, desert campaigns. It's probably one of my favorite campaign settings, only because of the difficulty that players are going to have in that environment. Now, what would a DM have to consider? I mean, we could look at reality and say, wow, deserts are hot. Well, not all deserts are hot, as we all know. So let's talk about some of the resources that I use. There's two of them you can use. One, you can use the Wilderness Survival Guide.
Right.
Yep. Definitely.
In developing a desert campaign. Now, there is a book in another edition called Sandstorm. I highly recommend anyone that's really into developing a desert campaign get that thing called Sandstorm. Uh-huh. It is a 3.5 book. Uh-oh. Sandstorm and I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I said, and don't forget the second edition's Dark Sun.
I'm saying, yeah, I know, I keep forgetting, but yeah.
Al-Qadim?
Well, you can use Al-Qadim, or you can use, Dark Sun. I'm gonna tell you why I like Sandstorm over those two, because Sandstorm is specifically designed for a DM to use in designing a desert campaign. I mean, that's what its focus is on. It's not focused on another fantasy campaign setting. That's why I like Sandstorm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when we're talking about developing a desert campaign, the first thing that should come to a DM's mind is, how will it affect the players? And if players are really into playing in a desert campaign, they should know a couple things. One, they need to know how to dress for the weather. Mm-hmm. They need to know the effects of the environment, how it's going to affect them as player characters. They have to know how does the weather affect them encumbrance-wise and movement-wise. How does it affect them as far as food and water is concerned?
Right.
And vision and visibility is another concern.
Yep.
Natural hazards, combat rules, fatigue, exhaustion, monsters, traps. It just goes on. It is a phenomenal undertaking for a DM to create an entire desert campaign and utilizing all these specific types of rules.
Right.
So, I mean, I'll give for an example. I know that we're going to be talking about I3, I4, I5, or it was I3 and I5, whatever the case may be. We're talking about the Desert of Desolation series of modules.
Right.
So, when my players first got into that, they were still wearing their chainmail. They were still wearing plate mail.
Ugh.
They was acting like they was fighting in regular weather, which, of course, we know it isn't. You don't want to fight in hardcore armor in the desert.
No, you'll be passing out.
Say again?
You'll be passing out from that.
Oh, yes. You would probably die because of the sheer exhaustion and heat stroke or whatever type of, ailments you might suffer from fighting in this kind of weather and everything. So a lot of these things have to be taken into consideration. So for a DM, what I would have them do is a flow chart. First start with the weather and then start branching out. How does hot weather affect a player? Well, it depends on what the character is wearing for armor. When are they traveling? That is one of the things that a lot of people do not take into consideration. I say a lot of DMs do not take into consideration that when you travel in a desert campaign, and now I'm just assuming we're going to do the hot weather one because you can have cold deserts, whether it's day or night. But let's talk about
the Gobi Desert's a good example of that.
Oh
in real world.
Yeah,
exactly, totally. You want to travel at nighttime if it is a hot desert, and you want to travel in the daytime when it's a cold desert, whatever the case may be, and everything. So all these things, all these elements have to be taken into consideration. Now for first edition AD&D, water should not be a problem, and I'm gonna tell you why. Y'all should already know. Can y'all tell me?
Water is always going to be a drought problem in the desert.
If you have a cleric with create water.
There you go. As long as you have a cleric that can create water, water should never be a problem for a player group. There should be no issues with water and everything. But like I said, water is no good to a group that's outside in a desert with the hot sun bearing on them. They got no shade. That will destroy a party in a heartbeat.
Now, going on with the water thing, if I remember correctly, and I think it's in the Wilderness Survival Guide.
Right, it is.
Yeah, there's like a couple of paragraphs on that water in the desert. Right. If you use that Wilderness Survival Guide, folks, there is a desert survival skill, but if you don't have it, but there is a section here where it says, in any given location in a desert, there's a 40% chance that water lies 5 to 15 feet beneath the surface. Yeah. And a 60% chance the characters will find no water no matter how deep they dig. Now, so you got a 60-40 chance, even without the skill, that you're going to find water, but you got to get to it. Talking anywhere between 5 to 15 feet. So, that was the spell dig might be useful, or
right.
There might be a few other spells that I can't think of off the top of my head that might be able to, move the sand and stuff around. But if you have desert survival, it goes up to 80%.
Right.
So I think when stuff like this, if you're going to create a desert campaign, I think it'd be a good idea. Just in my opinion, that you want a desert survival skill, at least a base percentage for desert survival, maybe for some of your characters, or all of them. I don't know. But I thought that was interesting when I read that in the Wilderness Survival Guide. I thought that was, okay, they could find it, but it's like 5 to 15 feet below the sand. So
and don't forget plants and vegetation, they have their own water supply.
That's another good point. Ground. Absolutely.
Like they say cactuses.
Yes, cactus, yeah.
Or cacti, whatever.
Cactuses.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But see, and that's the whole point now. See, one thing, I'll be honest with y'all. I was not a big fan of skills in first edition.
Neither was I, yeah.
So second edition, no problem and everything. Right. Now, of course, if someone has a character from that specific region, then that's a whole different story. So I would automatically, grant that player, the basic knowledge to survive in such hostile, environments.
Yeah. Right. And it even says in that book that even if you don't have the skill, there's a 40% chance that you're going to find water. So at least they give you a mechanic, at least a percentage stat to go by.
You know what I would probably do if someone was playing a fighter or a ranger? I would say those people will have the ability to find water better than any other class.
Oh, yeah. I would say definitely a ranger.
And a fighter, too, because they're the ones roaming the desert, just, looking for adventure, and they probably know how to survive by now, so.
Right. So, also, since we're talking on those kind of things, we're talking about traveling in the desert and everything. There's also the player characters might have the option, or eventually in the future, while they're playing a desert campaign, they may run into, certain nomadic groups or, desert wanderers and whatever. They might be able to parlay, get some armor from them, which will serve them better in that type of environment. So instead of wearing that hardcore full plate or plate mail or chain mail or any of that stuff, they might, evolve a little bit there and wear armor that the typical desert nomad or, those kind of people wear out there.
The Jawas, right?
Now, kind of going along with that with the armor now, if they have magical armor, isn't magical armor less encumbering than regular armor? So that would be...
No,
that would be. I thought it was. I thought magical armor was a little bit less encumbering than your normal. Like if you had chainmail, but if you had magical, +1 chain, it's less encumbering. It doesn't mean that they're not going to feel the effects. It's just not as quickly.
That is correct. I agree. I think they are less encumbering. They may weigh less. However, they will still suffer the same effects from harsh weather conditions.
Right. No, it just might not be as quick.
Wait. Stop for a second. How is chainmail +1 different than chainmail? It's the same material, just enchanted. How is it any different?
I could have sworn I read somewhere that
I believe you probably did.
Magical armors are less encumbering.
But if you're going for the whole realistic thing, which most people are doing when they're playing a desert campaign, how is chainmail +1, +2 any different than regular chainmail? You're just putting an enchantment on it.
Yeah, that's what my point is.
I don't know. I just remember reading it, and I think it's in the DMG.
I could see if you made like a chainmail out of a different material.
Yeah, and that's what I was.
Well, like elfin chain.
Exactly.
That's
stuff
lighter.
Like that. That's where it made the difference. But regardless, you're still going to suffer the debilitating effects of harsh weather, whether it be hot or whether it be cold. And deserts could be either. Now, something that some DMs do not take in consideration, that's why I like I3, I4, I5, is desert hazards. Among all the other things that player characters have to deal with the weather, the monsters, and all that other crazy stuff and everything, they still have to do with other hazards such as sandstorms.
Yeah.
Or poisonous plants, or any type of diseases, and there's so many other types of things that can affect it. Now that's why I like Sandstorm, because it gives you a whole giant list of supernatural waste hazards and that can affect the desert. Like there could be a firestorm effect. That's just because it's a residue of magic that affects that particular desert, where like a flame, not a flame. I was going to say flame blade, but what is that? What is that spell that the clerics use? Like to cast down the rain of fire.
Oh gosh.
I can't even think what it is right now for the life of me.
I know what you're talking about. Flame strike.
Flame strike. There we go. Flame strike. So there's an effect like flame strike. There's also, hailstorms that they're not cold, but they're hot. You see where I'm coming from? All these type of supernatural effects that can infect the environment.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that should be, added inside a desert campaign when players are, going into a desert region.
And don't forget at night, maybe it'll drop down to like -10 or something, or 0.
There you go.
Right.
And then,
there are extremes in temperature. You betcha.
And that's the whole thing. That's when they want to travel during that time. What I like about the module series, I'm just going to cover this again. The one hazard when they was traveling on the Sea of Glass. I believe that was number 5, if I'm correct. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's a sea of glass that the glass has melted because of some phenomenal magical thing that happened, event happened, and the sand had melted, and this desert area is made of glass. Well, you don't want to travel in that region during the daytime because, of course, the glass magnifies the rays of the sun, and guess what happens? You burn it up, and it's hot.
Yeah.
You want to travel on that thing at nighttime. So,
hey, I did find on the armor issue, I did find in the DMG, page 164.
Yeah.
For game purposes, all magical armor should be considered as being virtually weightless, equal to normal clothing, let us assume.
Yeah.
So, magical shields, however, weigh the same as normal shields and the same size. So shields, on the other hand, shields are still, for some reason, weigh the same. But magical armors, even like if you have field plate +1, it's virtually weightless. It'd be like wearing regular clothing. Still doesn't, I think, not resolve the fact that, it might weigh almost weightless, but it's metal.
Yeah.
That's
still going to heat up a little. You want a little bit of insulation between you and that heating up plate mail that's going to be on your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I liked about the Wilderness Survival Guide page. It says specifically on page 30, one set of clothing, normal, light attire, but not heavy and bulky cold weather outerwear. And you just go on and talks about all the other things about, armor and how it affects you and so on. So again, like if you're in the desert, you don't want to wear heavy metal armor. Right. You don't want to wear metal armor whatsoever. It's going to incumbent you to a certain,
but you better be clear that, like, okay, I have a set of clothing under the armor, so I won't burn myself. So, but it also, I think, brings up in the point, like in a campaign like this, I would think that magic items like bracers of defense, cloaks of protection, and rings of protection would probably be a little more common. Would you think?
Oh yes, I totally agree with you, and that was another point that I was coming up. I'm
sorry, I stole your thunder.
Oh, go ahead. No, you didn't steal my thunder. You're bringing up good points. I want to bring this up because I don't want to speak too much on this. Again, you're in a desert campaign setting. You're going to find items, magical items that you won't find in the DMG or anywhere else. These are things that are probably made up by the DM or whatever the case may be that will assist adventurers as they travel in the desert. For example, you might find magical armor, or you might find a magical ring that allows you to wear plate mail armor and not suffer the effects as much or reduce it by 20%, whatever the case may be, because we already have, rings of sustenance. Mm-hmm. You don't need food and water. So in a desert environment, that thing's perfect. If you're in one of those cold deserts or traveling at night when it's frigid and everything, a ring of warmth solves that problem.
Sure.
And now there's nothing saying that a ring of fire resistance could not help you to a certain degree while you're traveling in a desert campaign. Again,
I think so.
Yeah, like I said, it could not. It just depends on the DM. But like I said, there's so many variables involved with a desert campaign, so that when a DM decides to, encompass, a campaign set just on the desert traveling and all this stuff and everything, there's a lot of things that he or she will need to make it a full, blown out, phenomenal setting. You got to take a lot of things into consideration, and players need to know that.
So what can we pull out of I3 and I5 that'll help us make a desert campaign more productive?
Wow. For the Desert of Desolation series, boy.
There's got to be some things that we could just glance through and maybe help the players out there or DMs out there say, well, that's a great rule. We can use that. Or
if I remember correctly, at the very beginning of Module I3 Pharaoh, there are some certain rules that do help out with that. They have right in on page 4 of the first module, they talk about water and movement. Mm-hmm. I like we already kind of covered the water one and how some ways are, but movement I think is another interesting thing. When you're in a desert environment, and I know this from personal experience.
Yes, true.
Having spent some time in various types of deserts, either in the Southwest or in Iraq, going through sand is
annoying.
Is not just annoying; it is incredibly tiring. on especially if you have no other mode of transportation. If you're going on foot, if you have no other magical means of transport, you are going to get tuckered out very quickly. And one of the rules that they have in here, and I think it's a really good one, is it takes a human moving at a scale speed of 2 hours across any hex in a desert wilderness map. And it's scaled down from there for your various races. So its movement through hilly regions is half as normal, except for dwarves, because they're dwarves. But talk about other things. You also got to take in consideration various draft animals. Basically, you have a toss-up between two different types. You either could go with like a draft horse or a camel. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. And they bring that up in the module at the very beginning. Now, the camel, just stat-wise, good armor class, pretty decent movement, good hit dice. Damage, not so great. But they can carry a lot. They don't have a very... their maximum movement rate is 9, but they can carry quite a bit. Anywhere 5,000 to 6,000 gold pieces. They can carry at a maximum rate of 9. At 15 movement, they can carry anywhere between, almost 400 to 500 pounds. We'll call it pounds. They attack by biting and spitting. And they might even bite or spit you if you're their owner. So, camels are a little bit temperamental, and I've seen it. But
now, see, I want to say one thing about that, the movement now. Now, just by chance, are you looking at the actual I3 module, or are you actually looking at the Desert of Desolation series?
I'm looking at module I3.
Okay. Now, just to give you a little bit of understanding, there's a big difference between those 3 modules and the actual Desert of Desolation series. Mm-hmm. Since you brought it up that it comes in there, because like the first 3-4 pages is all for the DM concerning how the players will move and so on and so on. Right. Now, my question is, when you said that thing about traveling 1 hex, what was that distance again, please? Can you tell me what that was again?
12.
I don't
was
think
2 hours.
They said the size of the hex.
Yeah, they didn't say the size.
Okay, let me give you a specific here, just to give you an example how it is in first edition. It takes a human afoot. Oh, understand, that I'm reading verbatim, so I'm not trying to be boring or nothing out there.
Oh, here we go, Will. We'll read from the book again.
Okay, it takes a human afoot moving at a scale speed of 12 inches, which actually is 120 feet, 1 hour to cross 1 mile of desert on the Sand Voyager's track. At this speed, it will take 5 hours to traverse 1 desert hex on the DM map, which is a scale of 1 hex equals 5 miles. So that tells you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 5 hours to do 1 desert hex, and the desert hex is 5 miles across. So a mile an hour, and that's just traveling afoot.
Yeah.
Sounds about
right.
right.
It just gives you an idea how tough it is.
Yeah, and they're not taking into consideration all the other stuff, whether it's rugged terrain, what kind of armor you're wearing, and all that other stuff, or whether or not you, and well, of course, you're going afoot, so we're not talking about animals. And I verify that they use 2 types of animals in here. They went a little bit more, specific on the type of horse and the camel for that particular desert region. So my advice is to people that if they really want to get into I3, I4, I5, try and find the super module, Desert of Desolation, and use that, because I believe that they compiled all that information in the very beginning.
Okay.
But yeah, now I'm gonna tell you one thing real quick, like about animals. I love it when animals travel the desert. You know why? There's a lot of predators in the desert that eat horses and camels, and that's why you got to use purple worms. I just love this is the best environment for them. So with everything that I have stated and with the input from the others here, Vince and Nick, is that if you're really thinking about a desert campaign, really look into all this information and apply it equally to the players. Don't let it be a cakewalk, because if you let it be a cakewalk, they're not going to respect the environment. So the next time you want to do like a water environment or a mountainous environment, they're going to have the same respect for it as you did if you don't give this much too much of attention.
It's like any setting. I mean, like a Ravenloft setting, you take the time and the care to put things together to make it feel like it's that setting. Desert Campaign is no different. So we felt being so hot right now everywhere.
Yeah, that was my idea.
Yep. Nick is like, being hot everywhere, we might as well show people how to run a Desert Campaign.
Yeah. It was either a jungle campaign, so I was like, let's do desert, because, I immediately, the Desert of Desolation series came to mind. I'm like, I own them. I was lucky to come by them. I remember years ago I bought the 3 modules from a local game store that had them on a discount rack, and I bought all 3 for like dirt cheap. I think for like $20 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe my luck. But it's one of those series, just a little bit about it, that it was kind of like in that time where they were kind of making a transition to more plot-driven modules. And I think I3 through I5, or if you get the super module, the actual Desert Desolation super module, I think it typifies that. Because, who was it written by? It was Tracy Hickman.
Right.
And who gave us, like you said, Ravenloft. So I think they're, if anything, from a collectible value, they're unique because there's so much. It's just dripping with plot, and there's a whole bunch of different factions that you might have to deal with, especially in I4 when you get to the Oasis of the White Palm. There's different factions you might have to deal with, and there's so many traps. Oh my goodness. If you are playing a thief or multi-class with a thief, you are going to have a heyday. It's like every turn in this adventure when you get to a dungeon, there's going to be a trap. I'll just say that right out there. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, there is a little bit of everything. Like I said, there's the traps. There's great puzzles. And how it culminates is really good because you're going to do a little plane hopping too. Yeah. But it's a fantastic adventure. And rereading, I'm like, you know what? Even though it is kind of like being on the plot railroad, it's really fun. It is really neat because you feel like that the characters are part of this. They are the ones who are part of this kind of prophecy sort of thing. Now, and it's really cool in that respect.
Now, wouldn't B4 help us out as well?
I would think so. I would think
absolutely.
I think that would be really cool to incorporate if you want to do like a whole large desert campaign. I think that's the Lost City.
Yeah.
Yes.
B4. I think that would be a good start. Because that's levels 1 through 3. Then maybe you might have something kind of interim there, and then they can ramp up to I3 Pharaoh, which is levels 5 through 7. The whole series takes you from like levels 5 through 9.
Yeah. We can also use the Conan modules too, just for reference. The Red Sonja 1-2 is for reference too.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of some other ones that kind of have like a desert. Oh, another one for basic D&D. There's 2 of them. One's called the Temple of Death, and I have the other one. I forget what it was. I forget what the first one was called, but I remember the second module was called Temple of Death, and they're set in the desert. And if you want to convert those to first edition AD&D, obviously it won't be a problem. So you could do that, and you can make just like a whole desert campaign series with all those. And that would be really, really fun and unique because you need something to kind of spice things up for the characters, for the players, kind of keep them on their toes. And here's something to kind of throw a monkey wrench in the whole system. Hey, let's go to the desert.
Well, it sounds like a fun time. Why don't we have people tell us what they think? They can write in. Nick, where can they write to?
They can write to us at Roll for Initiative. I forget the email address. I forgot.
rfistaff@gmail.com, where you can go.
That's right.
Wow, that's so lame.
Or you can go to the website, and we have a contact form there. You can fill out the information there, and they'll send an email directly to us, or call the hotline, 570-865-4210. Tell us about your desert campaigns and what you do.
Hey, but before you head off on that, just let me know. I'm just going to let you know that Temple of Death was the first one, and then the second part was the Master of the Desert Nomads.
Master of the Desert Nomads and Temple of Death. There you go.
Yeah, Temple of Death is actually the second part, and Master of the Desert Nomads.
The Nomads is the first one.
It sounds like a He-Man with Masters of the Universe or something.
Those modules, if I remember, I have them. And they're some of the best ones for basic D&D. They're so cool.
A lot of the good ones.
I found that the majority of those modules for basic and expert are just absolutely fantastic. Just a little bit of conversion, put them to first edition, and then you got yourself some good adventures. And don't use the railroad excuse to take away the fun, because people are not playing and saying, this is a railroad, I don't want to play. They just want to play, kill monsters, take your loot, level up, and continue on.
Yep. And actually, module, you're right. Master of the Desert Nomads is module X4, and X5 is Temple of Death. So they're from like the expert series.
Yes, which is not too hard to convert over. And
no, not at all.
If you have any problems, you can contact the Save or Die podcast. They'll hook you up.
Oh, sure.
And let's head into Creature Feature Theater.
Creature Feature Theater.
All right, for Creature Feature Theater this week, we have two different monsters here. I'm going to tackle the first one, which people often mistake as a genie, the Djinn. Am I pronouncing that right, guys?
I thought it was Djinn.
Is it Djinn? I call it Djinn, whatever.
Or Jinn. The D might be silent. I believe it's Jinn.
I guess it's however you want to pronounce it. It doesn't really matter.
Tomato, you know.
But a lot of people always think when they think of this creature, it's like, oh, it's a genie. It's to grant me wishes. No, this doesn't grant any wishes at all. This thing could be your best friend or your worst enemy if you find it. It'll create food for you in the middle of the desert, create water and wine. This is up to 12 people possible. One thing that creates soft goods and wooden items. I guess that'd be helpful in the heat. So if you're carrying a sword around, that's not something burning in your hand.
Silk.
Yeah,
and I'll sell it.
They can carry a whole lot of stuff for you without tiring. So you can just lug things on them. If you treat them well, they'll treat you well. This was another thing about them. They do speak their own language. They are very intelligent. They have a form of telepathy. They do travel elemental plane to the astral plane and the prime material plane. So that's all I can think. Do they grant wishes? A noble Dingy can do it. So
yes,
the noble one.
Yeah, that's a noble one. There's a 1% chance of actually getting that. So imagine. Right. But you can get your wishes that way. But everyone always thinks when they find one of these, ooh, I automatically get 3 wishes. No, you don't.
You have a 1% chance.
And that's if you treat it good, too.
Right.
If you're a total, pain in the butt to it, it's going to be I don't think so.
Now, just to give you an understanding about how old the Djinn is as far as being in the game, the Djinn made its first appearance in the White Box set of 1974.
Really?
That's how old the Djinn is, yes. And then, they came into 1977, and they weren't classified as genies then either at that time.
What were they classified as?
They weren't classified as anything specific. They weren't classified as genies, even though they have the Ifrit, or the enemies of each other.
Right.
Yep. But that's about all that they really give on those. It wasn't really clear on those two, the Djinns and the Afrits. All it said is that, they're from there. And I think it got more specific later on that the Djinns come from the elemental plane of air.
Yep, that's
true. And the Afrits, I believe, come from the elemental plane of fire.
Yes,
you
fire.
got it.
So they're the enemy of pretty much of the Djinns, so they pretty much do the same exact thing. Let's see here. They actually grant wishes as opposed to the other ones not granting wishes. They become invisible. They assume gaseous forms, detect magic. They can enlarge as a 10th level magic user, polymorph self, create an illusion, which both of them can do, visual and audio, and they can create a wall of fire. Pretty cool. They carry more gold or more gold weight wise than the Dingy do or the Djinn do. 7,500 gold pieces as opposed to 6,000. And they come from the fabled city of Brass.
Yes, the old...
You're talking about the Ifrit?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can't stand them. I hate them.
The Ifrit are really cool in the effect that They seem to be a little bit more powerful than the Ifrit because just of the amount of powers and also hit dice.
Yeah.
But when you're talking City of Brass, this is one of those things out of like AD&D lore that for the longest time was like, man, I want to go travel to the City of Brass, the place where all the Ifriti come from. And you had that picture on the DMG, which is of the City of the Brass. And if I remember correctly, there was an adventure called To the City of Brass that was like a convention adventure. And that was, I think, briefly released like as a PDF somewhere for free. But if you do want to go to City of Brass, I know, and I'm not sure if you can find any more. If you can, good luck. But Kenzerco did produce a City of Brass adventure supplement for Hackmaster a few years ago. And it was written by, let's see if I can get it here. If I can find it in my collection. Can we pause?
I was really looking for the City of Brass.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Are you talking about the box set?
Nope. I'm talking about the City of Brass. Here I go. I got it.
I was also looking at the description. It says a powerful sultan rules over them.
Yes. Anyway, okay, here I go with City of Brass to kind of go with the Ifrit. All right. 3, 2, 1.
I didn't pause.
City of Brass. It's by Rob Kuntz, and he and Jeff Knight, who was working for Kenzerco, and they put out a whole adventure supplement about the City of Brass. And let me tell you, you got to get it. If you want to do plane hopping to the elemental plane of fire and you want to go to this place, I highly, highly, highly recommend getting your hands on this.
Ooh.
It is very, very cool. It is incredibly detailed. Ooh. And it has different monsters. I mean, it's like the water deep of the elemental plane of fire to give you an amount of detail. It's almost like that. If you remember how detailed the Waterdeep adventure is. So there's new monsters, new magic items, you name it, it's in there. It's very cool, and obviously you can easily convert that down the first edition AD&D if you want to. Just gotta drop a few things here and there that don't fit into the stats. But other than that, please, if you could get this one. This is one of my prized possessions here. Felt very fortunate to get my hands on this when I did.
So, did they say anything about the Sultan? I'm kind of curious.
Oh yeah, the Sultan. If I can find.
I'm curious to see what he's like. If he rules over these things, he's got to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, let's see if I can find.
Right, 10 hit dice creature, you're not going to be walking in there with a 5th level character and going, ha-ha.
I believe he's in the section on, various... let me see if I can find it, darn it. All right, I'm consulting the index right now.
I like how they're neutral, but they tend to be lawful evil creatures.
They got the Sultan's elite guard, the Sultan's main army. He's got to be under the personality section. Let me see if I can find it. I know he's in here.
That's cool.
But they have the listing about the Sultan, his elite guards, all the different quarters of the City of Brass. Also, you got different things there's a large map about the Plane of Fire, and they show where the City of Brass is. There's also a section where there's the Fire Giant lands where the Fire Giants hang out. There's also a slight. There's a small, I don't know, call it small area, but there is a little poke from the elemental plane of ice into the elemental plane of fire. It's interesting. So, and you have the realm of air. There's little nodes of some of the elemental planes that kind of poked into the elemental plane of fire. But I think it's a really cool supplement if you can get your hands on it. Cool. It's pretty sweet.
All right, we'll pick that up if you can find it. Maybe I'm sure you could probably find it on eBay or Amazon. for a couple bucks. I don't know. Maybe it might be expensive. Who knows?
Oh, they're expensive. It's one of those big high items out there right now.
Okay.
Now, the City of Brass has been re-released in a box set also.
Oh, it has?
Yes. And I saw like 4 or 5 box sets at PaizoCon this week. I think Frog God Games sells it.
Oh,
something.
okay.
Yeah, there was a ton of it there.
Is it for 3.5?
Yes, I believe so.
Or Pathfinder or something like that?
No, it's for 3.0. It should be 3rd edition. It should be 3.0. I don't think they converted it to 3.5.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go look for mine.
Wow, that's easy enough to convert backwards.
Oh, yeah, of course it is. I mean, it's very simple. Now, one thing I did want
there's some good nuggets of information in there regardless.
Right. Now, there's one thing I did want to cover inside. I don't want to, give off any more spoilers as far as the module's concerned, but you do find a djinn, a djinn servant in the module, which is an I-4, which is pretty interesting. He can't give you a wish. It specifically states he can't give anyone a wish, but he will stay with the party as long as they do good things and nothing evil, and so on. And that is one thing about those modules I want everyone to understand. You can use the djinn to translate all the writings they cannot interpret. That's one of the remember that?
Yeah.
I remember reading that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of writings in it that you're going to come across that you can't read. So that's one thing that people have to take into consideration when they do this module, that there must be a way for someone to translate the writing. And I found by using that djinn servant in there, he'll translate all the writings that they come across.
Sounds cool.
Just give me a heads up.
There we go. All right. Let's throw it out there to people out there, see what they have to say about there. I want to hear experiences using the djinn or the Afridi.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll head into our Dragon's Horde last segment.
The Dragon's Horde.
So the Dragon's Horde this week, we have the Flying Carpet, or the Magic Carpet.
Yes, carpet flying.
Yeah, I actually went nuts looking through the book. I was thinking, Magic Carpet, is Nick going?
I meant carpet flying. Sorry.
Yeah, I found that, and I'm like, where's Nick going nuts? Is this a book I don't have or something?
Magic Carpet Ride, the song.
So have you guys used this magic item at all, or?
I always thought that this was one of those items that it's like one of those must-have items for a party, it seems like. Eventually, one way or another, they want to get their hands on one of these things because it's just really cool what it does, depending on the size, the number of people can carry, and and the speed. So, hey, what's there not to like?
Well, I know the first time that I ever used a flying carpet was in Castle Amber when they had to fight the undead Colossus.
Oh my god!
Because I think he's like 400 feet tall. Was he like 400 or was he 100 feet tall? I can't remember.
He's just huge.
Yeah, in order to slay that particular undead Colossus, you had to throw a magical bag of powder into its face.
Yeah.
And so in order for the players to get that far up in the air, they either had to fly or they had to use some other magical means. And they was not comfortable with the magic user taking his bag because of his terrible combat ability. So they said, let's just get a magic carpet and fly up there and let the fighter throw it into his face. And in any case, it didn't make a difference because the armor class was so low. Mage could have rolled a 1 and still hit him. But no, that wasn't the case, though. But no, I think that was the first time and the only time that I ever seen a magic carpet in a module in a long time.
I had one experience with it, and Joe had, the great Joe DM, had fun using it with us because we all piled up on the carpet, except for one character, who said, no, dude, that's not going to work. And the whole party went off the side of the cliff, down straight to death.
Oh, man.
That's too funny.
And he was just like, I told you should have tested to see how many people before you all just piled on it. And we didn't listen to him, of course, so we just went off the cliff and went, whew.
Yeah, I remember the one party we had a while back where they got their hands on a magic carpet. I think it could hold 2 people, and they used it basically as a siege platform from up high where they would put the magic user. I think they put the magic user and a cleric magic user on the magic carpet, and they were just like lobbing fireballs and magic missiles.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea for combat.
Oh yeah. Keep your magic users on a missile range, but still high enough where they could just be right above the battle, and
or even
especially if you're outside.
Your archers could be up there too.
Oh, absolutely. You betcha.
There's only one problem, though. There's only one problem with flying carpets, and that's their maneuverability class.
Yeah, was it C or D?
It should be one of the. I think a dragon is a D. I think the magic carpet might be a B. Oh, I'm sorry, a C. I don't have my DMG in front of me, but yeah, that's
not too bad.
You just got to be real careful trying to turn on a dime.
And it is a carpet.
They don't have seatbelts on a magic carpet. Yeah.
It can't catch on fire. So it can get damaged. And if I remember in the description, it does say the only way to repair it is if you take it to, what does it say? The tears and other rents cannot be repaired without special weaving techniques, which are generally known only in the East. So,
okay,
there you go.
Half the audience just took offense in that. Thank you, Nick.
What? I read that.
It actually says that, huh?
What?
Nothing. So tell us about your experience with Magic Carpet. There's not a whole lot to say about it. We just wanted to throw that little goofy magic item in there just to see what you thought about it and for your perusing pleasure.
Yes.
So we'll just that's going to end the show this week. A nice long hour-and-a-half show. Hope you enjoyed it, folks. We encourage people to write in, call in, smoke signal in, go to Nick's house, drop off a letter, or whatever.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
I'll have to send the hellhounds after you.
Or go to Corn on the Cob. Con on the Cob and visit Nick, or PAX and visit Will coming up, or Gen Con visit Matt. And I think that's it. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
See you all later.
Roll for initiative.